I'm Paul Lasike. No, some people have called me a bulldozer, just sort of my style of play.
Lasike short, he's got to score! Lasike, the wrecking ball!
Pops it up and the try and scores by Paul Lasike.
Lasike to the 5, touchdown! Lasike gets through. Lasike
Smashes it out to Lasike.
Another nice pass. Oh, and Paul Lasike does it all himself.
I was the hyper-competitive kid. Sort of shows today I'm still the same today. Yeah, growing up, I took it really hard to lose. Whatever we were doing, I was always competitive and, always wanted to keep score. Because I'm number 9 of 10 children, I was sort of raised by my siblings, my older siblings. They played a huge example of me of faith and humility and love. They showed us all of that. Amongst all the sports that I played, I always knew that I had the most talent in rugby. It's given me experiences. I've been able to travel a lot. Been to most places in the US, but a lot of them for rugby, That's one of the reasons why I really love playing rugby. I went to Church College and it's in Hamilton, New Zealand. Every year they would bring over exchange students. So we ended up coming over, and it was only supposed to be 3 months in Salt Lake. Eventually ended up staying here, long story short. My favorite year of rugby probably was 2009, my freshman year, out of all the years I played at BYU. We beat Cal for the first time, and that was our first national championship for BYU, so definitely one of my favorite years of my whole career. The rugby team actually did their strength and conditioning with the football coaches. It was sort of a one-off thing, that didn't really happen. So the strength and conditioning coach back then, he was basically like, there's walk-ons coming up, why don't you try and see if you can walk on in the football team. There were like 200 people there, all vying for 8 walk-on slots for the spring. So we talk about opportunities. That was one that I'm really grateful that I sort of just stepped into it, because it led to a lot of great things down the line. I hadn't even been to a live American football game. I remember going there and just learning about all of the blocking schemes and the holes that you're supposed to hit as a running back, and just being so discouraged my first year. So there were times I actually wanted to give up playing football, just from the sheer fact that, mate, you have so many plays to try and learn, and it's harder than it looks. So it was really humbling. That was tough. That's one of the toughest things I've ever done, like mentally and physically.
Lasike off the bench. Paul Lasike, touchdown BYU.
An agent came to me my senior year and was like, hey, you have an opportunity to play American football in the NFL, would you like that opportunity? And so I was like, yeah, so I jumped on it. I went as an undrafted free agent to Arizona. So we're playing the Denver Broncos. I do as best as I can. I end up scoring a touchdown in that preseason game. And I'm actually feeling pretty confident going into the following day when they're gonna make those final cuts, and ended up being released. And I said to myself, I've only been playing for 3 years. Most of these guys have grown up playing the sport, and so you gave it everything you had, and I was content after that. Shortly after that, Chicago called me, and there were more challenges and more adversity and highlights and lowlights along the way. Going into my 3rd season in 2017, I ended up being released from Chicago. There were times actually I thought I was going to just hang it up, I'm done with sports, I'll figure out my next move. I got a message from Kimball, who was he was my old BYU rugby coach, one of the backs coaches there. And he's like, hey, there's a new league starting in 2018 for rugby. Would you be interested in playing? And so I'd seen rugby programs or rugby leagues start up here in the US and fail, and so there was kind of that doubt in my mind, like, okay, I'm kind of just going in the blind here, I'm just taking his word for it. I decided to just give it another shot, and so we moved me and my family. I remember the cap ceremony at the end of our very first game. They were capping all of the players, and it's always a humbling and grateful moment for me when they announced, Utah Warrior #1. It actually opened the gates for me to get my foot back into rugby, and I've had a bunch of amazing experiences, playing overseas and with USA Rugby. I look back at year 1, especially with the club, and to see how far they've come. They've had to, sort their way through a lot of adversity and a lot of trials and tribulation, and so Utah Built means to me is sacrifice and sort of just making things happen even when the chips are against you. I'm Lasike and I'm Utah built.